Hey everyone, welcome to the PEX News channel. Today we're going to talk about escalation between Israel and Iran, potential military confrontation or political balancing act. Before all, don't forget to tell us what you think, drop a comment below. As I mentioned, today we're spotlighting one of the most heated issues in the Middle East, the growing tension between Israel and Iran, especially following the International Atomic Energy Agency, IAEA report, confirming Tehran's non-compliance with the nuclear deal, and rising indicators pointing to a potential military action. A panel of military and strategic experts has discussed this issue across several analytical platforms, exploring the existing scenarios and their field and political implications. Escalation triggers, from international decisions to field movements. The recent IAEA report indicates that Iran continues to enrich uranium up to 60%, a level approaching weapons grade, even though it remains officially outside the nuclear weapons club. This comes amid a deadlock in talks to revive the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, JCPOA, and rising voices within Israel calling for preemptive military action before Iran reaches the so-called point of no return. Meanwhile, Washington has instructed its staff to leave Iraq, a move analysts interpret as a possible prelude to military escalation with wide regional repercussions. Increased meetings between Israeli leadership and U.S. administration officials recall the pre-Iraq war atmosphere of 2003, in which military options, solo operation, or coalition strike. Military analysts have outlined three main scenarios. 1. A unilateral Israeli strike, targeting Iran's nuclear facilities deep within its territory. 2. A large-scale joint Israeli-American operation. 3. Limited escalation, aimed at political pressure ahead of expected talks in Oman. None of these scenarios are easy to execute. The distance between Israel and Iran's nuclear sites exceeds 2,600 kilometers, requiring multiple refueling operations for fighter jets, not to mention Iran's complex air defense systems. Remote bombing, like operations near the Iraqi border, isn't feasible in the case of facilities like Natanz or Fordow, which are deeply fortified within Iranian mountains. Logistical barriers, bunker-busting munitions, and deep fortifications. Israel currently lacks bombs capable of penetrating deeply buried facilities, such as the US-made GBU-57 massive ordnance penetrator, which weighs over 13 tons and requires B-2 Spirit bombers to deploy. These bombers are stationed in far-flung US bases like Diego Garcia or the US mainland, making Israel entirely dependent on US support for such an operation. Reports indicate that under the Trump administration, Israel was allowed access to certain precision munitions, while President Biden later froze some of these shipments, seen as a diplomatic pressure tactic to de-escalate tensions. Requires non-traditional warfare tools, cyber and naval operations. Beyond air power, Israel has other instruments in its shadow war with Iran. Cyber attacks. Israel and the US previously deployed the Stuxnet virus in 2010 to sabotage Iranian centrifuges at Natanz. Such cyber attacks have recurred in recent years, targeting nuclear and industrial infrastructure. Assassinations and sabotage. Iran has witnessed the assassination of dozens of nuclear scientists and sabotage of strategic facilities. Submarines. Israeli Dolphin class. Submarines operating in the Arabian Sea and the Gulf are believed to be equipped with cruise missiles capable of precision strikes from long distances. Strike objectives, military or political goals. The aim of any strike could be one of two. 1. Full destruction of Iran's nuclear infrastructure, a highly difficult and complex task. 2. Limited strikes to delay Iran's program and push it toward concessions in negotiations. However, Iran has already reached an advanced stage in uranium enrichment, 60%, and possesses sufficient stockpiles to quickly reach weapons-grade levels, 90%, if it chooses. This leads many to believe that any military option would aim to contain Iran's progress, not eliminate it entirely. Moras. Iran's likely response. Hormuz closure, and missile attacks. Iran has multiple response options. Closing the Strait of Hormuz, through which about 20% of global oil trade passes. Targeting U.S. bases. in Iraq and the Gulf, as it did after Qasem Soleimani's assassination in 2020, escalation through regional proxies, including Hezbollah in Lebanon, the Houthis in Yemen, and the Popular Mobilization Forces in Iraq. Iran's defense minister recently declared that any Israeli strike would be considered direct U.S. involvement, even if Washington only provided logistical support, raising the risk of a wider regional confrontation. Analytical summary. It appears unlikely that Israel could execute a decisive strike on Iran alone, militarily or logistically. Any such action would require a yes green light from Washington, and guarantees of full political and defense support. At the same time, Washington is wary of uncalculated military action that could ignite the region, disrupt Gulf shipping, and exacerbate the global energy crisis. All scenarios the Biden administration wants to avoid ahead of elections, thus the current equation is a delicate one: calculated escalation, aimed at pressure without crossing red lines that would trigger full-scale war. So, what's your take? Drop a comment below. Thank you for watching.